What's up? And let's get to it. No big time intro. We're talking about credit for, well, us middle agers. So let my co star do her thing and let's just ease right on into the content. And don't think that I don't realize what you're saying. And yeah, I'm back. Just for now.
Welcome back to my dad's channel. If you're new here, make sure to click that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to share.
Well, in grand spirit of getting to the point, let's just get to the point. I'm 43. I'm an 80s baby. Let's just face it, us in that cohort, if you were born anywhere between 78 and 85-ish, 4-ish, you're in a special pocket, a special generation that is normally referred to as the Xennial because we were all born in a fully analog world and we have since watched the world transition into the digital futurescape or the dystopian future, depending on how you think about it, that it has become. So we remember when, using phone booths and, having to wait until the end of the month to pay the credit card bill. Those little machines that they used to use when we watch our parents shop, if your parents were fortunate enough to have credit cards. So these are the things to remember because we are in that age cohort. Lots of us remember getting our first piece of actual mail, and it probably involved buying 12 CDs from Columbia House for a penny, and I guarantee Columbia House is probably looking for a couple of people that may be watching this broadcast, including me. And also, we've also moved into a world where we invest in cryptocurrency, and a lot of us in our age cohort don't know the blockchain any different from a actual cinder block. So these are the things that we run into as Xennials. We have made the transition. We understand a lot more than our predecessors and are being lapped on average by our children. So that's why I think we need to discuss credit for the middle age, credits for the 40s and the 50s. A lot of times, like people I know, because I graduated early, who might be 50, I may have went to high school with. So that is a sobering idea, and it very much so brings reality crashing down. So without further ado, let's get right into a couple of reasons that I want to discuss credit for the middle-aged. So much like my perspectives, we're just going to go point by point for this because, look, there are things that people need to know and maybe things that I may have to remind some of my contemporaries. The very first thing is we pay for convenience. I am 40 plus. I will pay the charge. There's normally a charge accompanying using the convenience of credit cards. You don't have to carry stacks of cash. Credit cards can be very quick. You can tap to pay. You can swipe. You can insert. I mean, hell, there are Amazon stores where you scan your hand and you walk in. All of that convenience comes at a cost. That is the reason why we pay for electricity in our house when there are plenty of free lightning bolts just out there in the world. We pay for water while water actually falls from the sky for free. Until they can monetize it, just thank God for free air. But the fact of the matter is, things of convenience we are willing to pay for in our age because we are not of the same group of people who are just starting out life. We are already established. Chances are we are at our money-making maturity for the most part. This is probably when a lot of us are going to be making the most money we've ever made, period. We are hitting our financial strides. So we don't have the problems of college students and people just starting out life. So now that we've went through all those pitfalls, we don't want to go through all the inconveniences again. The very first one, and this might be polarizing, is interest. People of my age don't mind paying interest. I certainly don't. It is simply a convenience charge on a short-term loan, especially if you do not have all the money up front. And with credit cards, look, let's face it, most of us have kids. Kid breaks an arm, boom. Oh, you're paying interest. Kid needs something for school, or there's a fee for everything under the sun. Look, interest it's just a part of life. It is a convenience fee. Obviously, you don't want to pay the highest. You would like as low as possible, and ultimately you never want to pay interest. But honestly, once you hit your 40s, unless you are prodigiously lucky, I'm not even going to say responsible because responsible people pay interest too. Unless you are prodigiously lucky, chances are you will pay interest at some point in your life. So once you get to this age, it's really no big deal. because once you get past it, it's done. Another thing that we don't really scoff at is the service fees. I just talked about those. The service fees for using credit cards, we normally don't care. I don't want to write a check. Who carries a checkbook? They don't even fit conveniently in pockets. If a credit card will do the trick, then so be it. You charge me 2%, 2 to 5%. Hey, look, I don't care. You're taking some grief off of me, and on top of that, I get the points and or cash back for that too. Oh well. There are many things that people already waste their money on. For heaven's sakes, if you smoke, you're literally paying for the convenience of ending your life prematurely. So don't tell me that 2 to 5% for using a credit card to pay a tax bill or so on and so forth is the end of the world. You're not really going to get a lot of traction with people of a certain age. That certain age being over 42. I'm of a certain age. Jesus, I'm old. Okay, anyway, let's move on. This one is for my age cohorts as well. Always have a 0% balance transfer card on the horizon. In the credit card community, they do not get talked about enough, even though they are extremely useful tools. I have obliterated my credit on numerous occasions. I think it's 3 at my last count. And I have recovered, fell back into the same trap, recovered, and so on and so forth. And I am on an upswing now, and I've been on said upswing for years. But I'm not everyone. Everyone is not me. Balance transfer cards can be extremely, extremely, extremely useful. I've even done videos on balance transfer cards. And now we're at a point where you can get a balance transfer card with no annual fee. Maybe it's a 3% or a $5 fee to transfer said balance from a card that may be charging you 29%, anywhere from 19.8, shout out Capital One, to 29%, shout out to everyone else in the world, and you can go to 0 and you can dodge some of the soul crushing interest that people will take on, let get out of control, and end up paying more than the money that they originally borrowed. So, I had to stumble my way through that just to let you know how serious it is. Always have a 0% balance transfer card. As a matter of fact, speaking of that video, I'll search through the archives, but if I have it, it will be right here. And if I don't, and it does not show up right there, well, that's going to be a silly part of the video. But that's okay. I'm only talking to my people because the youngs have probably turned the video off by now because I haven't talked about the Chase 524 rule yet. The truth of the matter is once you are at my age, and and I'm blessed to still have my mother and my father still walking this earth. A lot of people can't say that, but my mom and my dad are not spring chickens. A lot of the times people of our age either have aging parents, or we have children, or we have both. So to be able to, sweep away a convenience fee into a 0% balance transfer card over a total of anywhere from 15 months, shout out to Bank of America, to 21 months, shout out to Wells Fargo, shout out to Citi Diamond Card. These are cards that all have these things for 0 annual fee, and you just pay the cost of the balance, and then you get out from under that debt. It can really be life-changing, especially if your life is in flux and you are trying to get your financial ducks in a row. So go ahead and just please keep in mind that having a 0% balance transfer card, almost as a break glass in case of emergency type deal, especially for people in our age range. Now, here's another one that's going to go counter to what you normally see in the credit card community and the credit card space, is that a lot of times when you have established yourself and you have an established financial history and you want your life simplified, a lot of the times using an established line of credit, be it a credit card or a personal line of credit, can actually be more valuable than sub-hunting. Now, don't get me wrong, by now you own a property. If you are so lucky to do so, that property might need a roof. It happens. I live in Florida. You got a shingle roof, after 10 years, you're probably looking for another roof. You know what I mean? You may need to paint a house if you are so fortunate to have rental properties. These things, they incur costs that you have to cover. So now, if you are trying to extend your holdings, having 11 million hits to your credit to seem as though you're seeking credit might not be favorable for some. Whereas if they already have established credit cards and established lines of credit, then that's fine. I'll just use that, get the points, get the benefit, get the cash back, get whatever protections I can. And that's how people of my age tend to think. Now, I understand the return on spend for subs and how everybody's so excited about, whatever sub that this bank is having, no lifetime language or blah, 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 or who cares, yakety schmackety. But life happens in the blink of an eye. And sometimes, if you got it, it's just easier to just go with what you got, period. And I know some people can probably empathize with that. I know some of my credit card diehards are probably scoffing at the TV if they haven't turned off to badmouth me with the young people who turned off earlier when I didn't mention the Chase 524 rule. You see how I keep doing that? They're going to throw me in the algorithm. But in any case, I'm not going to go into that because that's stupid. But that's what it is. A lot of times, use what you got. It's already there. Go with the devil you know instead of doing the sub hunting, because then that's one less thing that you have to keep track of. That is yet another thing. Us 80s babies are pretty smart. Like I said, we went from analog to digital. So we know what it's like to not have things at our fingertips, and we've had to have a very swift learning curve in order to keep up. And finally speaking, people like me, like the homie Sledge, we don't care about the rules. What we're focused on is the results. So it is very seldom you will find somebody in our cohort really, a card carrying member of the Chase 524 cult. We don't, issuer rules. It's look, we're either going to get it or we don't. That's it. Case closed. And like the homie Luke says, we're not going to be out here majoring in the minors and just burning up a bunch of valuable time when we know exactly what it is that we want. At this age, at this stage in life, we tend to know, look, I either qualify or I don't. If I do, great. If I don't, plan B. Then plan C. We have contingencies in place because we already understand that I can't guard my credit forever because I'm weeping and scared of a rejection. Because look, if there's a rejection, you don't actually bleed from that. You just don't get the card. Big deal. That's kind of silly. So we're not worried about that kind of stuff. We know what we qualify for. Sometimes we're pleasantly surprised at what we qualify for. But in any case, we always know that the result is what we're after. Because we got to get down the road. Remember, we have kids. At least most of us. Most that I know. We have kids. I have a lot of kids. Oh my God, I am not okay. You see all this gray? It's because I have a lot of kids. Oh God, I have a lot of kids. Anyway, in any case, that's it. We care about the results. We're trying to get to the finish point by any means necessary. So all that other stuff that you hear, I don't care how many cards, I don't care how many inquiries I have. What I want is what I want, and I will get what I want. That's it. That's how a lot of us tend to operate. So that's pretty much it. It's been a long time since I've been behind the camera in this format of video, and it feels good to get back on the horse. Now, I know I was supposed to do an in-game wallet video. I did answer that call from Luke on one of my lives, but honestly, as a matter of fact, I think I've spoken about it before. I'm pretty certain I have, because my wallet doesn't change. It hasn't changed in years because I travel like a madman. I've been all over the place, every which way. So here's my in-game wallet: platinum, gold, a ton of other food cards, because every card has a food multiplier, and a couple other significant cards, and my company card. That's it. But I've spoken about the end game. I'll put that video right here. Hopefully I can find that one. So just in case I look stupid on the last part, I don't look stupid here. So go ahead and check that video out as well. But that is pretty much it. There's no point in doing an end game video. But this, talking to people that are my age, sometimes you can get lost in the minutia of this point and cent per point and this protection and that protection. There's no really need to do that. Let's just come together and, let's celebrate in the fact that we don't have to deal with a lot of that stuff. This gray is also, our membership card to say that we've been through some shit. So let's just think about it that way. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. It has been a minute. I am not so old to forget my pointy thing. There it is. You can look at some of these old videos because I barely record anymore. And I hope to see you guys again. Maybe. I'm busy. And I have a lot of kids.